Hello, people from around the universe. I am your host, the Italian Ace, and welcome to my first 100 subscribers special. And this is a very interesting topic because we're going to be discussing a hypothetical football team or soccer team for you American folks out there, made up entirely of Pokemon. Now, before we get into the video, I do have to give a bit of background because this was recorded a long time ago. As in, before I had the current camera, microphone, or lighting setup. So the quality isn't as high as what you're seeing right now. However, there are a couple positives with this video. One of them being that the topic, like I said, is very fun. Or at least I hope so. And the second is that I actually worked on this video with my good friend Molly, who is an amazing editor and also is the one who made the intro for this channel, for anyone who didn't know. And that means that the editing for this video is not only on par with my more recent videos, but probably even a little bit better because she's just really good at doing this kind of stuff, and her helping me makes it so that the video overall has better, more polished editing, if that makes sense. But I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, why did this video come out so late? And there's two reasons really. The first being that a lot of stuff just kept happening in quick succession that prevented me from putting out this video, because when I first recorded it, Bring Down the Shining Pro came out, and so I focused my attention on that. Then when we started doing the editing, Legends Arceus came out, and so I focused my attention on that. Then there was my bottom dance competition, which I was both preparing for and then, of course, competing in, and that took a lot of my time, so I didn't have time to work on videos as much in general, much less put out this video on top of the other stuff that I was doing. And then by the time that was done, Scarlet and Violet was revealed, so I was doing all the videos regarding the new games, and yeah, it just kept getting pushed further and further back. The other reason is that I really didn't know when to release this video after I pushed it back the first time, because right after Bring Down the Shining Pearl was when I switched all of my recording setup to be what you're seeing right now. So it was already like, well, do I want to put it out now with the lower quality? Like, I don't know. And then the idea hit me, I could make this part 1 of my 100 sub special, because this is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart because I love both Pokemon and football. And like I said, the editing is actually pretty good compared to even my modern videos. So hopefully that kind of explains why this is coming out when it is. And I do hope that you just enjoy the video regardless, because it was a lot of fun to make. Still, fret not. Like I said before, there will be a second 100 subscriber special coming out later this week. And that will also be a very interesting topic and a bit of a longer video, so hopefully that's something you're looking forward to. Plus, it will have the normal camera and audio setup, which we've all grown to love. But enough of this background and preamble. Let's get to the actual topic of the video. And I will leave my past self to guide you through all of this. So I hope you enjoy it. But of course, before we do any of that, cue my intro. For those of you wondering how we're going to be doing this, well, I suggest looking at the title again. And if you're still confused, then either A, you didn't realize that the X and I stood for the Roman numeral 11, or B, you've never seen a football match in your life, and I should probably start by explaining that in a football game, both teams line up with 11 players per side, which is why I am going to be deciding which 11 Pokemon I think will make for the best football team. But with all of that out of the way, let's talk about how we're actually going to be deciding which Pokemon make it into my team. There's basically going to be two rules. The first one is that the Pokemon can't be over 3 meters tall, which is like 8.5 feet approximately, because, well, we're going to be playing with official football rules and football goals, and having a Pokemon that's that tall just kind of invalidates the point of a goalie, as they could just stand there and block most of the frame of the goal. And two, any Pokemon can use any part of their body to hit the ball except for their arms, just like in football. And by arms, I mean whatever the uppermost limbs are. So for quadrupedal Pokemon, it'll be their front legs, and for like bird Pokemon, it will be their wings. And if you don't like that, I'm sorry, that's just the way I decided to make this work, and that's how it's going to be. But with the rules out of the way, let's get into the actual Pokemon. Starting off with the best Pokemon ever, and also the best Pokemon at football ever, Cinderace. Now, of course, Cinderace is the most obvious choice for this kind of a list, and honestly, with good reason. Not only is his whole concept based around a footballer, but his signature move, Pyro Ball, is literally him juggling a football that's on fire. And his hidden ability, Libero, not only means free in Italian, or in this case, free roll, but it refers to a position that was very popular in football back in the 80s, which was a defensive midfielder that would be sitting right in front of the defense with the freedom to roam forward and basically play wherever he felt he was needed the most. If you want to know more about it, look up Gaetano Scirea, as he was one of the best libero of all time. But just basically know that there's a reason why they gave Cinderace Protean, but with a different name. And the libero ability is honestly perfect for the role that I have in mind for Cinderace. But before we get into any of that, let's talk about the actual formation. Now, we are going to be running a 4-2-3-1. And that's mostly because it's one of my favorite formations in actual football. And also because I think it gives us the most freedom with our Pokemon choices, as well as completely maximizing the potential of our star player, aka Cinderace. And that is because he is going to be playing in the so-called hole, which is also known as a position right behind the striker and basically between the two wingers. So if you have the 4-2-3-1, he would be in the central position of the three. For anyone wondering why this is a great position for him, well, it requires you to be able to play many different roles. You have to be creating chances for your teammates, you have to be finishing chances yourself, you have to have good game vision, you have to have pretty good speed. So it's honestly perfect for a Pokemon like Cinderace with the stats that he has and with the ability that he has. Which actually brings me to my next point. I'm going to be using the Pokemon stats as a general guideline for how I'm going to rate how good they would be at a certain position. But it's not going to be like a one-to-one comparison, obviously. But overall, their HP stat is their stamina. Their attack is how good they are at finishing off chances. Their defense is how good they are at, well, defending. Their special attack is their positioning in offense. Their special defense is their positioning in defense. And their speed is pretty self-explanatory. But now that we have our star player sorted out, let's talk about the rest of the team, working our way up from the back, as you always want to start with a solid foundation in defense. Which means that our next Pokemon is going to be our Goalkeeper. And who better to fulfill that role than Incineroar? But why Incineroar specifically? Well, a Goalkeeper has to be pretty athletic, which Incineroar clearly is, as shown by his signature Z move. He also has to be relatively tall, so that he can reach the different parts of the goal more easily. He has to have good jumping abilities. Again, his Z move proves that pretty spectacularly. And he has to have strong arms, ideally that are also longer than the average for that kind of a body size. And Incineroar checks all of that. Plus, Incineroar would actually have cat-like reflexes. And no, I am not apologizing for the bad pun. But now that we have our Goalkeeper sorted out, let's get into the defenders, starting with our two center backs. And first off, we have Blaziken. Now don't worry, this is not going to be just fire-type starters, the whole list, mostly because there's only 8 of them. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm doing different Pokemon. It's just, when I was making the list, I realized that I could do it in an order where I would have the 3 fire-type starters all in a row, and I thought it would be kind of funny. Probably not worth the effort, but here we are. Anyway, bringing it back to Blaziken, why is he our center back? Well, I want to have 2 center backs. One that is pretty mobile and good at ball distribution while also still being an aerial threat. And another one who is very physical and very good at putting in a tackle and stopping the attacker head on. And Blaziken fulfills that first role perfectly. His legs are pretty powerful, and that's an understatement, so you know he can deliver a nice long ball over the top perfectly. And he also would have a great aerial presence because of this. And the fact that he's not all that slow for a defender means that he's not going to be cut out of position too many times. So Blaziken, congratulations, you're going to be the first of our center back pairing. Next up, we have Snorlax. And this is going to be a problem for the opposing team to get around. I mean, not only is Snorlax great at defensive positioning, as you can tell from his stellar special defense stat, but he also is an absolute unit of a Pokemon that would actually be really hard to get around dribbling, especially when Blaziken can just cover and double team the attacker with like a crunching tackle as he tries to dribble past Snorlax. And as we can clearly see from Unite, Snorlax can really start moving pretty fast if he wants to. So he makes for the perfect center back partner to Blaziken. But now, let's finish off the defense with the two fullback positions. Starting off with our right back. And here, we're going to have a Pokemon similar to Cinderace, but who is going to be using his ability for a slightly different purpose. And that is Greninja. Now, if you were paying attention, you remember that I was talking about Cinderace's hidden ability, Libero, and how great that was for the position that he was going to be playing. And Greninja has the same hidden ability, just with a less cool name. And that's perfect because when you combine it with his very high speed stat, he is going to be a monster down that right flank, making overlapping runs, being able to switch to a more defensive mindset when he needs to, and just being absolutely everywhere and a nightmare for people to deal with. But who's going to be partnering him on the other side? Well, that would be none other than Obstagoon. So, I already have a pretty offensive-minded fullback in Greninja, which is why when I was making the team, I was thinking it would probably be a good idea to have a more defensive-minded one on the other side. But I still wanted someone who could make those overlapping runs forward when necessary to create that extra danger on that flank. And I can think of no better option than Obstagoon. I mean, his speed is still pretty decent. He has a very nice balance of defensive stats, so he's going to have good positioning and a good actual defensive game. Plus, he is literally in the perfect position to never have a handball called on him. And if you follow football at all, you know that after the introduction of VAR, video assistant referee for anyone who doesn't know, handballs have become so prevalent that any player that reduces the risk of getting a handball called against him, especially in defense when it can lead to a penalty, is welcome. But let's move on to the midfield. Who do we have connecting the lines and shielding our defenders and just generally making the team tick? Well, for our defensive midfielder, we have none other than Blastoise. Honestly, he's just the perfect pick for this. And if you're still not sure why that is, he can spin around to cover ground faster like he does in Unite. He can use his water cannons to stop the ball in midair. And he is a great physical presence to put in front of the center backs and create that extra defensive stability. Plus, I know that my boy Blastoise has an actual cannon of a shot and will be able to score some very nice goals. For our box-to-box midfielder, we have none other than Crocodile. Why Crocodile, here you're asking? Well, let's look at his stats. His speed is pretty good, sitting in a nice 97. His attack is spectacular, which means that you know he can bang in those goals. He has decent positioning, nothing crazy, but both on the offensive and defensive side, it's not abysmal. So he's going to be able to make himself available in offense and then track back in defense when necessary. And he looks cool. So he's our box-to-box midfielder. And now for the people, or I guess I should say Pokemon, that will inevitably steal all of the glory because of their position on the field. The forwards. Starting us off with our right winger, Alakazam. If you're wondering why Alakazam specifically, especially when there's arguably a better choice than him in Mewtwo, since he is not over the height limit and has better stats, well, that's because Alakazam has something that Mewtwo doesn't. And no, I'm not just talking about a more amicable personality. Alakazam has an IQ of actually 2,000 plus. That's right, he'll be able to literally make 2,000 IQ brain plays. And who doesn't want that? Also, Alakazam has actual telekinetic abilities. So he'll be able to pick up the ball with his mind, which is not against the rules, by the way, because he's not using his arms, and literally plop it right on top of the head of our big target man up front, who we'll get into shortly, but not quite yet. On the other side, since we're talking about wingers, you know I couldn't resist another bad pun, which is why we have Talonflame. That's right, we have a wingers with actual wings. Go figure. But I already hear you saying, well, Talonflame can touch the ball with the wings because those are what we're counting as the arms. And yes, that is correct. But have you seen Talonflame's design? Because I can imagine the ball sitting very nicely in a small cradle between his head and the rest of his back, basically where the neck would be. And if the ball can stay there, then Talonflame can actually fly past everyone and drop the ball perfectly on top of our star striker, who we're finally going to be talking about right now. So who's going to be leading the line? Who's the Pokemon that will be getting goal after goal after goal and praise after praise after praise from all of the adoring fans? Well, that would be none other than Haxorus. Honestly, this is another perfect fit for the position. The attack stat is through the charts, so you know that Haxorus will have actually zero problems scoring goals. The speed stat is actually really good, especially for a big target man, and the fact that there's a tail involved means that Haxorus can score with so many different body parts in so many different ways that no defender will know how to stop this incredible beast of a striker. And welcome back! Yes, it is me, present-day Italian Ace, yet again. What did you think of the video? I hope you liked it. Also, let me know what you thought of the Pokemon that I picked for the team and who you would have in your starting 11, because I do think this is a generally fun topic to just kind of discuss. And if you don't know that because maybe you don't play soccer or football or whatever you want to call it, then I would recommend to go play that for one, but for two, let me know what Pokemon you would use on a team for any sport, because this can work with anything really. So yeah, I'm curious to see what you guys come up with. Anyway, if you want more Pokemon content, especially with regards to Scarlet and Violet as these games get ever closer, but also generally fun topic like this one, then I do recommend subscribing. And I hope to see you all in the next video. But until then, remember to follow the way of the Ace. See ya!